Thank you for joining Foundational Facility Management Consulting today to discuss facility management planning for churches. Today, we'll talk about what that is, why it matters, and how to start. I'd like to start off with introducing myself as your host. I'm Dustin Kirby. I'm the founder of Foundational Facility Management, and I'm a certified facility manager with over 20 years of experience in facility management. I've overseen everything from church campuses to government buildings. I've got a background in construction, operations, and capital planning. And I enjoy using my real life experience to help churches take care of their buildings in a way that supports their ministry. Forgive me if you hear my dog in the background. But I also wanted to introduce my wife, Stephanie Kirby, who's not on the call, but she's our lead in operations. She brings a practical and thoughtful approach to supporting churches through Foundational. She's the one who handles the details behind the scenes and develops a lot of the resources and the systems to make sure that you as a church feel supported every step of the way. She's passionate about helping churches grow and reach people and knows that through Foundational Facility Management, we can support that mission. Today's agenda is going to be a facility management plan, what it is, why churches need a plan, what's included in a complete plan, how to get started, and then a question and answer. So let's start with what is a facility management plan? For a lot of people, they get stuck at this step, even defining what a facility management plan is, because a lot of us, honestly, are working from pure reactive maintenance. So there is no plan. If something breaks, we try and figure out how to fix that. Obviously, that's not a plan, that's just reacting to the situation. So a facility management plan is a clear step-by-step strategy for caring for your church building and property with intention. That's not just reacting when something breaks. At Foundational, it starts with a high-level overview, which is really important to think about. Let's think about a 10,000-foot look at what buildings you have, where your major systems are, and what needs attention. You can see in the photo that Stephanie, this photo of her getting ready to jump out of a plane from 10,000 feet to go skydiving. And it kind of just gives you kind of the general overview of what we're talking about whenever we're starting. Like, we're seeing the huge big picture. We're not deep in the details yet, because I promise you, you will get lost in the details if that's where you start. So a facility management plan is not just software. You can't just buy software and say you've got a plan. It's not just a checklist. It's a foundation for better decisions, safer buildings, and long-term ministry support. And it is for your particular church, not for some other church. So why do churches need a plan? There's multiple reasons. Let's start with stewardship. We all want to spend less on emergency repairs. One way to do that is by planning ahead. A facility management plan helps you use your church's resources wisely, and you can extend the life of major systems. Obviously, this is important for multiple reasons. One, you save money in the long run. Two, you have less downtime. No one wants to come to your building and have your AC down on a day when it's 95 degrees outside. Also, in the wintertime, no one wants to come to your building and have it 30 degrees outside and have no heat. The next section is maintenance and safety. A plan helps keep your buildings functional and safe by addressing issues before they become emergencies. So a preventive maintenance plan is just that. It's preventive. So like, obviously emergencies they can and will still happen, but a good preventive maintenance plan will reduce those. So a facility maintenance plan helps you to identify risks early and stay ahead of costly repairs. Oftentimes, you will see an issue start to develop before it's a full-blown emergency, and that's our goal. A plan also helps you with hospitality, because first impressions matter. First impressions matter in relationships, in business, inviting someone into your church, especially for new visitors. A clean, comfortable, and well-maintained space shows care and creates an environment where people feel welcome. No one wants to come into a building that's unkept, that's poorly maintained, that you don't feel like you can use the restroom, or like I had said before, you're not comfortable with the temperature in the building, or let's say it's poorly lit. People want to come to a nice, well-maintained, clean, bright, and comfortable atmosphere. Our goal from a maintenance perspective is honestly just to do that little part in the kingdom's goal of actually getting people to know Christ, and that's have them not focus on the facility itself. When we're doing a good job, the facility is second. The message and the welcome, I guess, let's say the welcoming atmosphere by your staff and your volunteers is what we want them to see. But another thing that a plan helps with is communication. A good plan gives volunteers, vendors, and your leadership clear expectations. When volunteers don't know what you expect, they often stop volunteering. When vendors come in and they're not sure what the expectations are, they can't do their job to the fullest ability. And when leadership doesn't know what volunteers are doing, what vendors are doing, or what the plan is, they literally can't plan ahead. So a facility plan reduces confusion, it helps coordinate responsibilities, and it ensures everyone is on the same page. So let me go through pillars of a facility management plan. And these pillars are created by foundational facility management, and they're pillars that we really live by. We know that if you follow these pillars give you a strong foundation for your facility maintenance plan. They allow you to thrive in that area. So pillar number one, it's the facility overview, the big picture, kind of like I had showed before with Stephanie jumping out of the plane. That's the 10,000 foot view. So it's just a high level understanding of your buildings, your systems, and your key contacts. So this overview lays the groundwork for your plan and helps reveal gaps in knowledge or communication. Oftentimes, just from this large overview, you can see, okay, we actually have no one to contact for the HVAC going out or a roof leak or whatever it might be. This high level understanding also might show you that you don't even have records of any of your repairs. You're not diving into the details right now to find out what repairs there are, but do you have any maintenance history? And if you do, is it easily found? If I come in from the outside, if you hire a new person, can they easily find the history of your maintenance? That's very important. Your second pillar is emergency response and risk management. So we all know that you need to have a good risk management system. You don't want anyone from your staff to volunteers to just visitors on a Sunday, Saturday, or whatever day you're having service, or just a community event to come in and get hurt. Risk management often identifies maybe it's a trip hazard, maybe it's a sharp object, whatever it might be. Risk management helps you define what that is and make those needed and necessary repairs beforehand. Emergency response is how you handle an emergency. So a preparedness framework outlines how your church will respond to emergencies, minimize risks, and protect people and property. Let me give you a little example of an emergency response. One church that I used to do facility maintenance for had a winter storm and all of our power went out. What that really showed us was we wanted, because a lot of the area power went out, we wanted to be a strong center for the community that when something like that happened, people could come in. We had showers and that they could shower, that they might get a meal and just warm up for a little bit. Unfortunately, we didn't have the framework to make that happen. With that knowledge, we then built into the budget to add a generator so that in future emergency situations, we would still be able to be that center of for the community that they could come to. Emergency response can also refer to literally how do you respond. Let's say that your building had a unfortunate fire and you had to know where you're going to hold service for, let's say, the next 4 months while the repairs were made. You should have a plan in place for that. You hope to never have to use that, but maybe it's renting out the local school's gym, whatever it might be. Put those plans in place now instead of waiting for the emergency to happen. The third pillar is your asset inventory. So your asset inventory is a detailed record of your facility's physical assets, from your HVAC units to flooring, along with their age, their condition, and their expected replacement timelines. Every asset has a life cycle. So that's the amount of life that asset has. For example, your roof, depending on what type of roof you have, and then depending on the quality that you put on there, maybe it's a 25-year expected life cycle. You should know for your budget and for your maintenance when that roof is expected to come to completion of its life cycle. Some assets will outlive their life cycle, their expected life cycle. Some won't make it quite that far. But this gives you a general planning tool, and it's very important. And what I always tell everyone is with the asset inventory is you can't manage what you don't know you have. What I'm trying to say is if you don't know what assets you have, you cannot maintain them. It's very, very important that you have a nice, complete inventory of your assets and that you have a system that keeps that inventory up to date. So let's say that one of your assets outlives its life cycle. And when it comes to the completion of its life, you replace it. Well, okay, now that asset is taken from an active asset and you want to still keep the old records, but you move that asset from active to inactive. And then whenever you replace it, you have a new asset in there. You want to be able to have the new records for the new asset, the warranties, the expected life cycle, the maintenance history, all of that. So very, very important to have a good asset inventory. The fourth pillar is vendor management. So this is a system for organizing service providers, contacts, contracts, and warranty details to ensure consistent, reliable facility support. Most, if not all of us, will use some vendors, or you might call them contractors, in the maintenance of our buildings. Whether it's a lawn care company, a snowplow company, it might be a roofing company. A lot of churches use an HVAC company that might do monthly or quarterly maintenance on their HVAC systems. Whatever it is, you're going to have vendors, and you want to have a good vendor management system. Like one thing that Foundational really, really preaches is having a good vendor management system so that you can review your vendors. You want to be able to give them something annually that shows how they're doing. A lot of people think, oh, I don't want to be harsh, like we're a church and we don't want to give our vendors a review if it doesn't look good. But it's actually just the opposite, because what happens is over time, if a vendor's not doing well, you have to replace them. That vendor would much rather hear from you ahead of time, hey, this area needs improvement, so that they have an opportunity to improve that area before they lose your business. You're actually doing them a favor, and honestly, you are doing yourself a favor, and you're doing a good job of stewardship by really managing all of your vendors. Usually they want to do a good job, and you always want them to do a good job. So you got to have a good management system that keeps the communication open. The next pillar, pillar number 5, is maintenance, inspections, and assessments. So this is a structured process for regularly evaluating the condition of your buildings, identifying maintenance needs, and prioritizing repairs. So this is an extremely important pillar, as are all of them, but you should have routine maintenance inspections and assessments, whether that is volunteers, your own staff, or if you're partnering with an outside vendor that you set up to do those. This really can help you see issues that are upcoming, or sometimes it identifies things that have already happened. For example, oh, that leak's been happening, but it's in a back room and nobody noticed it. That is found usually by the inspections. One thing that we really like to do here at Foundational is called an FCA, which is a facility condition assessment. That gives you an overall assessment of the assets in your building. For example, you might have 200 assets in your building, everything from your roof to your HVAC system, your plumbing assets, your restroom fixtures, whatever they might be, you might have 200 of them, okay? With the facility condition assessment, you see where your assets stand. For example, maybe you hire a company to come in and do that FCA and you find out, wow, 50% of our assets are actually past its life cycle, and either it's no longer working or it needs to be replaced because it's costing us more money and time in maintaining it, or it's just not being maintained and it's costing us more money in the long run because it's really impacting our building. A lot of churches maybe build at one time for their needs, and then maybe a room over time isn't used as often. Well, it's easy, out of sight, out of mind. And over time, okay, that's the room that has the leak, maybe the roof leak, and maybe it's impacting your foundation. Maybe it's just growing mold. Whatever it is, obviously you want to find that. So regular maintenance inspections identify cleanliness issues, maintenance issues, all kinds of things. I really like, encouraging this, because whenever I go through and I see, let's, for example, go through and I see areas where it's dimly lit, for example, and we put a light on that, for example, we put in new light bulbs, it'll show a lot of the maintenance and cleanliness of that area. Maybe it hasn't been properly maintained. Maybe it's just a dim area for some reason, but we want to encourage, hey, let's make a bright, inviting atmosphere that really speaks to cleanliness and maintenance of your building. Pillar number 6 is the preventive maintenance program. I spoke about that a little bit earlier, but this is a scheduled system of regular upkeep to keep equipment and spaces in good condition. It reduces emergencies and it extends the life of assets. Like I said, you've either got a preventive maintenance program or you only have a reactive maintenance program. And even with a preventive maintenance program, you'll have a certain amount of reactive maintenance. Let me explain that a little bit more. So with a preventive maintenance program, churches should have some type of work order management system. Now, I'll slow down so I don't make this so confusing for some of you that maybe aren't familiar with this. In the industry, a lot of times we call these CMMS, which is Computerized Maintenance Management System. But you can do this a number of ways. The old-fashioned way was maybe a spreadsheet that showed, okay, this asset needs to be inspected monthly. Maybe this asset, the filter needs to be changed quarterly. Maybe this asset, the belt needs to be inspected quarterly. Whatever it is, that is on your preventive maintenance program. And ideally, as I said, with the CMMS or a work order management system, what will happen is, for example, Foundational can help you put these in, but then when this task is due, this will pop up on your system. For example, next Friday, if it's time for the filters to be changed, it will pop up on your system, and you can make sure that whether that's one of your team doing that or a vendor doing it, that it is done. Then once it's completed, you actually mark that in your system so you can see throughout your history what has been done, when it's been done. And it also, the preventive maintenance program includes the inspections I had kind of talked about before. But with going through and doing the preventive maintenance, you notice, okay, this is an issue. And before it becomes maybe a full-blown emergency, you can correct it. I'll give an example of a HVAC system. When you're inspecting the belt in the preventive maintenance system or program, maybe you notice, okay, this belt is starting to unravel. You can replace that belt at that time instead of waiting till the belt completely breaks and your air handler is down. Or maybe you notice that the filter was missed being changed for the last few months on something on one of your HVAC systems, and it's extremely dirty. It's making that motor work that much harder to pull air through a dirty filter. And then you can correct that before it becomes a bigger issue. So your preventive maintenance program is extremely important. Like I said, you're either helping to prevent maintenance, big issues, or you're just reacting to issues as they come along. The next pillar is pillar number 7, which is benchmarking. So benchmarking is a process for comparing your facility's performance, its costs, its maintenance, its energy use to internal history or other similar churches. For example, let's say with benchmarking, you can compare your utility bills over the last 5 years and see when things are increasing or when they're decreasing. Obviously, with inflation, a lot of times our costs go up over time. But if I see, okay, my cost this January increased 25% over last year, there's an issue. Benchmarking often identifies issues and allows you to pinpoint where you have to focus. Maybe it's a door that's not completely closing or a window and it's causing energy loss. Maybe it's your HVAC system. Whatever it is, benchmarking helps you to identify those issues, but it's also a baseline for you to continually improve. It's like a competition. My goal is, okay, I see what we've done before with the benchmarking. I see what we've spent or how much energy we've used, and I want to improve that process over time. I want the building to be more efficient. Benchmarking allows us to do that. So I love it with my own buildings, so historical benchmarking, or you can also use that to compare to other churches. Maybe you want to do churches that are in your similar area because they have the same weather patterns. And then that helps you identify maybe someone's doing a better job in a certain area than you are. And most churches are more than willing to help each other out. So you can reach out to their facility manager and ask, how did you reduce your energy costs in this area so much? Or how are you doing this so well? Or maybe you find out that you are the cream of the crop in this area and you can help other churches improve their energy usage. Whatever it might be, benchmarking is extremely important for you. Pillar number 8 is the life cycle and budget planning. So that's a financial roadmap that estimates when assets will need repair or replacement, which helps you plan ahead and avoid surprise expenses. I remember a church that I was doing facility planning for was frustrated with their budget planning. It seemed like every year they would go over budget. So looking over it with them, they didn't have a life cycle replacement budget, which meant they didn't know when their assets' life cycles were expected to come to completion. So, for example, their roof, they didn't know when the roof was supposed to be replaced. They just knew if it started leaking, that's when they would start planning for replacing it. Instead of, okay, it was replaced in 2000 and you have 25 years, so expect in your budget to plan for a roof replacement in 2025. Like I said before, sometimes your assets will outlive their expected life cycle. Sometimes it won't even reach that. but this allows you to plan in your budget. It helps you to have less blown budgets whenever you have a nice life cycle and budget plan. The next pillar is pillar number 9, and that is project management. So this is a framework for planning and executing larger facility projects, whether it's renovations, upgrades, or repairs. It helps you keep all the projects on time and on budget. So it's really important in churches to have a larger, let's say stronger focus on project management. A lot of times I've seen churches, they might hire someone that attends their congregation, or someone in their congregation knows to do a project, and that's perfectly fine. Unfortunately, a lot of churches then don't want to have the paperwork filled out and treat it as a business transaction. And you do have to do that. You have to treat that as a business transaction so you know what to expect in cost, what to expect as far as a timeline and schedule, so that you have an idea on how to keep the project on task and on budget. Sometimes we don't want to, but we might have to contact that contractor if they start to fall behind on their schedule. If you have no schedule, obviously you can't even contact them and ask them to explain why they're behind, because you have no schedule. If you have no real budget, then you have no project management to manage. You want to know what your project's going to cost, what the scope of the project is, and how long it's going to take. And then along that timeline, what milestones that they're going to be hitting along there, so you can make sure the project stays on schedule. But that's really important. We have a very nice project management pillar that helps with templates. It helps with planning. It helps with meeting your expectations. Most projects, just like most things, are predicted to fail or succeed by the planning phase. If you properly plan for a project, most of the time you'll get the results you want. If you don't plan for it, most of the time your results are all over the place. So make sure that you plan for that. The 10th pillar is volunteer team and event planning. So this is a system for organizing facility-related volunteers and preparing your building for church events, services, and special activities. Your volunteer team is essential to your church. I really enjoy helping a church build up a volunteer team that's strong both in their commitment and their skills. So, for example, I took over a church that had a volunteer team of 3 people. After a year, I had that over 20. And what I really used to grow that was a team atmosphere, but also I made sure that people felt important. No one likes to come volunteer and then feel that they're not needed. For example, if you ask for 10 volunteers and they show up and you don't have a plan on what they can do, they feel like you don't really need them. They're not likely to come back. However, if you get to know your volunteers and know their strengths, know their skills, and honestly, get to know them personally a little bit. Maybe they're looking for a community to be a part of. If that's the case, you probably don't want to put them on solo projects. They might want to be a part of a team. Maybe this volunteer enjoys working by themselves. They just want to give their time, and you know what? Maybe they've got a green thumb, and you find out, okay, this would be the perfect volunteer. They're reliable. They don't mind working by themselves, and they will keep our flowers and our yard looking nice. Maybe that's where they fit. Where maybe you've got another couple of people that really enjoy being part of a team, and they want to take control of making sure all of your light bulbs are replaced and everything looks good as far as that, or your ceiling tiles are replaced. Nothing drives me crazier than walking through and seeing light bulbs burn out and water damaged or just scratched up ceiling tiles throughout a building. That shows that there's definitely a lack of maintenance. So you want to make sure that your volunteers feel needed and appreciated. Make sure to mention them to leadership. Make sure that leadership acknowledges all the work that they're doing. And I promise you, you will build a strong volunteer team. We've got a template for how to do that, just like we have templates and step-by-step guides on each of our pillars. But we really encourage you to build that volunteer team, and it's going to make your church stronger. It makes a strong community that want to help each other out. That also helps with event planning, because a lot of times the event planning, what I've seen is that, okay, you might be able to build up excitement for this event, but with an event, you have to have a setup team. You have to have a teardown team. You have to have a cleanup team. And you know what? If you don't have those, your event planners get so burned out from trying to do everything by themselves that they stop planning events. I've seen churches go through them time and time again. They've got this strong event planner that's excited for these few events, but after 3 or 4, they're burned out. Then they get another one. Same situation. Really, you've got that strong volunteer team, and they're able to help out even on the events. They'll set up, they'll help tear down, they'll help clean up, and you don't ever want to overuse any one volunteer in every area, because someone might tell you that, oh yeah, I want to help out in this and this and this, but it's your responsibility actually to keep them from also overcommitting themselves. You don't want that one shining star to burn out because you allowed them to volunteer for every single thing. So you're really managing your team, and it helps with your event planning. But with the event planning, we also have suggested events that really we've seen and feel really help bring the community into the church. And so we'd love to share those with you as well. Now that we've went through the pillars, that might have been a lot to digest. And you're thinking, okay, I honestly just wanted to know how to maintain my building, and this is a lot of information. So let's go to just simple ways to get started so you don't feel so overwhelmed. So one of the first things you want to do is walk your church property. A thing that you could use is our monthly inspection checklist, which is free. You can get that on our website. And what this checklist will do is help you kind of understand what you should be looking for on your monthly inspections. It'll help you identify potential issues or current issues. It'll help you have a focus, and you can check it off as you go along, and then keep a file of that either digitally or in a file system so that you can reference back that, okay, this wasn't an issue last month, but I do see a sign of change this month in this. As you're going through, note any visible issues, water stains, as I said before, on ceiling tiles, carpet, or just regular, your flat ceilings might have stains, flickering or burned out lights, loose door handles, strong odors, anything that's out of the ordinary. Take photos. If you can also record these photos with your inspection checklist, it's so valuable. Visual records help track change, and it builds your case for repairs. Next thing you want to do is build a simple inventory. List your key asset systems, your HVAC system or units, your roofs, your flooring throughout your building, your kitchen equipment, your restroom equipment, your plumbing equipment, all of that stuff. Start listing that out. In our pillar for building an inventory of your assets, we have honestly a very nice template that helps you go through and build that out. And then it even helps you identify what it is, write down the make and the model, and then you need to identify what year it was, what year it was installed. If you don't know exactly, get as close as you can to that so that you can be as accurate as possible. And then you can even note the condition. Does it sound like it's running well? Does it look new? Does it look old? Is it rusty? Stuff like that. So focus first on what's most expensive or causes the most disruptions to your facility. Start the conversations is the next thing. Ask what's falling through the cracks or what always seems broken. A lot of people that can help you is if you have a custodial staff, whether it's your own staff or you hire a custodial cleaning company, a lot of times they'll notice things. Other people that might notice things are long serving volunteers, or some of your older members. They've seen stuff come and go, and sometimes people stop asking them and they stop volunteering information. But if you seem interested and you're willing to ask, a lot of times they'll be able to point out, oh, you know what? That's changed. That used to be like this, or they might know who used to repair it. All of that information is valuable. So talk to volunteers, talk to staff and custodians. They often see the problems earliest. Keep a running list of repeated issues and your quick wins. That's important. There's a lot to facility maintenance. Make sure you give yourself credit and check it off the list when you get something repaired, or just whenever you get a system implemented. Make sure you count that as a win. So create a monthly rhythm is your next thing. You want to schedule a 30-minute walkthrough every month. Make sure you stick to it. Day-to-day work will try and throw a wrench in there. This needs to be something that's important enough that you're going to make sure you stick to it, because it will help you. Track the changes that you see, the small repairs, the emerging concerns. That's important. Make sure that you keep track of those. And consistency builds momentum. Even before you get a full plan in place, if you can be consistent, you will start to notice things. You will start to make small improvements. Consistency is key. So I hope that helped you a little bit just for the getting started phase. Another thing you obviously can do is if you can find a trusted outside resource or inside resource, if you have it, someone that can help you set up your plan and get started. What you want to do is have a plan created, then you want to implement that plan, and you want to consistently keep to it. So our next slide is about the common obstacles that you're going to have. One that we're going to focus on right now is software. You either might have software that you're not using to the full potential, or you might need software. One thing to note is it's important that software alone isn't the solution. You need a plan to tell the software what to do. You can buy the best software in the world, but if you don't implement the information from your building into that, it does nothing for you. Then if you don't stick to the plan to follow the software, then it's not going to help you at all. It's just an expensive software that's not doing anything for you. So most churches don't have the right data to feed into the software, which is a list of their assets, the schedules that you need to maintain, and the priorities. Make sure that you work with someone that you can trust to help build that out. So without a plan in place, tools become glorified task lists, not management systems. We've seen this over and over again. Someone spends the money on a software system, and maybe they even get those tasks implemented into the system, so the reminders keep coming up. But if you don't have the resources to keep getting those reminders completed, eventually that becomes just a task list that you have to keep pushing to the side and ignore and ignore and ignore. And pretty soon that becomes useless. So make sure that it is customized for you, for the resources that you can use to complete it. So there's no one size fits all approach. Your facility needs a plan tailored to your specific building, your team, and your budget. Make sure it's customized for you. And a good system supports your plan, but it can't replace it. Remember, you need to have the plan, or the software is useless. Now that we've went through what a facility management plan is, how to implement it, and why it's needed, I just wanted to open it up for some questions, and I've got a few here. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first one. What if we don't have a budget for repairs or tools? One thing that's important to note is you always find space in your budget for repairs when they're serious enough. The important thing is if you can put the repairs the expected repairs from your preventive maintenance plan and the tools needed for those repairs into your budget beforehand, you actually will save money. A lot of people don't want to look at that because it might be scary. It might seem overwhelming. It might be like, hey, our budget is so tight, we can't afford to put anything in there beforehand for repairs. Well, unfortunately, repairs will be needed for any facility. So if we ignore it on the forefront, on the back, we're going to end up paying more than we would have by just going ahead, figuring it out beforehand, and facing that. Just make sure that you do realize that these repairs will cost you one way or the other. The question is, do you want to have less repairs and have them less costly? Or do you just want to react to those repairs later that become emergencies and end up costing you more? Next question is, do we need a staff member to manage all of this? That's a very good question. A lot of churches will say, we don't have a facility manager. We just can't manage this. Well, I've got great news for you because there's a lot of resources out there. Maybe internally, your business manager will be doing it, or a different staff member. But you can partner with outside resources. You can partner with many companies out there that'll help you both develop and implement your plan and keep it moving. Sometimes you don't have the resources to have that facility manager on site. And so you're just hiring out contractors to get everything done for you. Still, if you have a maintenance plan in place, you can set those contractors up for success. You can also track that. So yes, to answer your question, do you need a staff member to manage all of this? Yes and no. You will need a staff member to be involved in some way. You do not have to have a staff member that is only focused on your facility management. That would be great. I would love that if you can, if you have that resource. If not, partner with a trusted company or a trusted inside. Maybe you've got someone in your church that can help you set up your work order management system. And then once that's set up and you've got your contractors in place, someone will have to keep an eye on that and manage it. But like I said before, if you don't have the resources, you do not have to hire a facility manager for your company, for your church. Next question. How can we have volunteers help with all this? As I spoke about previously, volunteers are so important. You get a good volunteer team and they're priceless, literally. I've seen it. Like, they just bring life to the church because a lot of the volunteers, they might be working before their job, after their job. It brings life to the church before and after hours, or sometimes during hours. It brings different people in there with different skills that are coming together as a team to help the church run. It creates pride within that team, but also pride within your church. You will see a cleaner, more efficiently run church. It's going to be better maintained. People are going to know who they can go to and talk to if there is a maintenance issue or cleanliness issue. Like, it's really important to have a good volunteer team. And if you have a good volunteer team, you'll often find, hey, there's some skilled people in your congregation. Maybe Jack has skills in this area. One thing that I often do is have people lay out when I'm trying to get them to join the volunteer team, if they're interested, what are the skills? What are their desires? What are their passions? Oh, shoot, I might see on their list, they're actually an electrician. Maybe Amanda has experience in cleaning, or maybe she has plumbing experience. So then, okay, I can put Amanda on list for some plumbing issues. And she can help. Sometimes we might have to still hire a vendor outside for big things, but it's still nice to have that volunteer that can say, yes, no, that's accurate. This does need to be replaced, and help with that. So yes, you can have volunteers help with all of it, and it's actually important that you do. A good volunteer team oftentimes shows the health of your church. So now that we've been able to go through what a facility maintenance plan is and how to get started, I hope that you have an idea of where to go next. And I want to invite you to our next, well, I want to thank you first for joining us today. And I want to invite you to our next meeting, which is on August 19th at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And that is going to be going over knowing your assets, how to inventory and assess your church building. If you have any, if you want to register, you can go to foundationalfacilitymanagement.com. And if you have any questions, please email us at info@foundationalfmc.com. Everyone have a great day. And once again, thank you for joining us.